Making your way in the world today takes everything you got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You want to be where you can see troubles are all the same. You want to go where everybody knows your name. Well, all those nights when you got no lights and the check is in the mail, and your little angel on the countered by its tail. Your third fiance didn't show. Well, sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, and you're always glad they came. You want to be where you can see troubles are all the same. You want to go where everybody knows your name. Well, you get out of bed and the coffee's dead. The morning isn't looking bright. You shrink right off to Europe and he doesn't even write. Your girlfriend says she's not a girl. Be glad there's one place in the world where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You want to be where you can see troubles are all the same. You want to go where everybody knows your name. You want to be where you can see troubles are all the same. You want to go where everybody knows your name.
All right, and welcome to Proverbs Guys Ministries. I am one of your hosts this evening. I will be co-hosting along with Miss Robin Webster, our official timekeeper tonight. And we have two debaters. As you can see there on the screen, we have Rich, who's going to be presenting the creation side of cosmology, and we have Mark Reed, who's going to be giving us the secular view of cosmology. The theme of the debate is, does cosmology prove a creator? Does cosmology point to a creator? Rich taking the affirmative. We're going to allow him to do his opening statement first. First, I guess we'll let you each have a couple minutes to introduce yourselves. Then we'll jump into opening statements. So, Mark, as the guest, would you like to introduce yourself first and plug your channel?
Sure, thank you. So my name is Mark Reed. I am an atheist, secular humanist, and I enjoy philosophy. I enjoy science. I enjoy knowledge of all type, and I like to have conversations on all kinds of things, including science, morality, things like that. I really enjoy it. So I run a channel, Mark Reed Atheism, where I do stuff and things and try to have some fun while doing it. And I really do enjoy debates where it's not a complete garbage fire. I really do. And I've seen enough of those that I really want to have conversations with people and debates with people that are engaging. And if you think at the end of it, I think everybody's won, quite frankly. Yeah.
Like it. Love it.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark Reed. Rich, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello?
Yeah. My name is Rich Vandenberg. I'm an independent creation scientist. I've been studying physics and creation and cosmology for about 15 years now. I have a website, theoriesofcreation.com, also a YouTube channel under the same name. Um, like Mark, I love going deep down the rabbit hole on conversations about physics and the origin of the universe and stuff like that. I love, just independent thought and anything that can, spark the mind or spark intellect or anything like that. And I've never done a debate before. This is my first official debate. So thank you, Mark, for being part of that. I really appreciate it. And hopefully I know it'll be a lot of fun. I'm excited about this. So.
All right, thank you very much for that, Rich. As you're taking the affirmative position tonight, we're going to allow you to begin. You're going to have 5 to 10 minutes. So at the 5 minute mark, Robin's going to come on and let you know 5 minutes, and then she's going to cut you off at the 10 minute mark. And then afterwards, we're going to hand it over to Mark so that he can give us his opening position. So
Okay.
go ahead. As soon as you begin, Rich, Robin will begin your time.
Okay, I do believe wholeheartedly and scientifically that in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. Um, I believe that physics will not allow the universe to create itself. Physics shows that it is necessary for something to put it into existence. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Genesis 1 1. Um, I hope to show that escape velocity and gravity won't allow the universe to expand out of a singularity. Um, First and second law of thermodynamics. Isaac Newton's law of motion shows that the universe was created, it cannot be self existing, and it cannot be infinite. According to the laws of physics, God is necessary for the universe to exist. So there are only two options: either the universe created itself or something created the universe. There is no third option. Um, I do believe that the Big Bang Theory is a good theory, but I believe it is impossible for it to expand out of a singularity. Um, so the first chapter of Genesis says, "In the beginning, God created the universe." It doesn't say that God created, or he said that God created the heaven and the earth. It doesn't say that God made the singularity and then the heaven from it. Um, So, according to space.com, says the definition of the Big Bang Theory. The Big Bang Theory stands as the most widely accepted explanation for the origin of the universe. According to this theory, the universe began as an infinitely small, hot, and dense point, which rapidly expanded and continued to stretch over 13.7 billion years. This initial period of rapid inflation set the stage for the vast and self growing cosmos we observe today. Again, that's on space.com. Um, so, according to the Big Bang Theory, the universe began as an infinitely small, hot, and dense point. So, how small is infinitely small? If it was infinitely small, you couldn't even measure it because it wouldn't exist. So, there is an assumption that out of non existence it appeared all by itself without explanation of where it came from. Then, if it did come into existence as a singularity, the theory says it would have to expand from itself. So Stephen Hawking said, because there is a law such as gravity, the universe can and will create itself from nothing. Spontaneous creation is the reason there is something rather than nothing. Why the universe exists, it is why we exist. It is not necessary to invoke God to light the blue touch paper and set the universe going. So, why does gravity exist? Researching the topic, I asked Google, and it said gravity exists because the fundamental property of mass bending space time, this curvature of space time, is what we perceive as the force of gravity, causing objects with mass to be attracted to one another. While we know what gravity does and how it behaves, the fundamental why it exists remains a deep mystery in physics. Let's find my place. Gravity is something that pulls matter and energy towards each other while warping the fabric of space-time in the process. The best guess is that gravity and space-time are trying to return to its normal position. It acts, for example, like water returning to the center of a pool after you displace it with a beach ball. If you took a beach ball and pushed it into a small pool, the water would be displaced. And the force of water, trying to get back to its original point is kind of how gravity acts. On top of that, if you add the effects of attracting magnetism, you'll get an understanding of how it works. Gravity is affected by the inverse square law. The closer the object gets together, the stronger the attracting force is between them. So gravity is a force. In simplest terms, force is a reaction. Something had to initiate that force to take place. That initiation is matter. How can any force create the thing that is needed to exist to cause itself to happen? That's like saying I can whistle without having lungs to blow air through my lips. In 2011, I'm just going to breeze through this. I don't have time to explain the entire mission, but in 2011, NASA launched the Grail mission, which included two satellites orbiting the moon to detect variation in its gravity field. They concluded that the variations were caused by the difference in the density of material both beneath and on the surface, basically showing that gravity exists because of mass. Um, so gravity cannot create matter, and matter cannot create gravity. So hold on. So what you have here is a chicken and egg problem. So gravity cannot create matter, and matter needs to be in existence in order for gravity to be in existence. Which came first, chicken or the egg? Um, so escape velocity is another way we know that gravity is based on the overall mass of a planetary body. Every planet in a solar system, for example, has a different escape velocity. The Earth is roughly 25,000 miles an hour. The Moon is 5,300 miles an hour. And Jupiter is roughly 133,000 miles an hour. Our Sun is 1.38 million miles an hour, or 2.2 million kilometers an hour. Um, so, what is escape velocity? Escape velocity is basically the velocity needed for any piece of matter in motion to escape a relative gravity well. If I took a ball and threw it straight up in the air, it would immediately begin to slow down because of gravity. Eventually, it'll stop in the air and then fall back down because of the gravitational force being pulled on it. Now, if you throw it hard enough, eventually, well, I mean, you won't be able to do it, but if you get enough velocity behind it, eventually it'll be moving so fast that the gravitational pull will not be able to slow it all the way down, and it'll escape the um, relative gravity field that is in. Okay, so jump forward a little bit. The current estimate of the number of stars in the observable universe is around 2 trillion galaxies, each containing roughly 100 billion to 400 billion stars, leading to the total estimate of about 200 billion trillion stars. This is according to Little Passports and World Atlas. Okay, let's take an estimate real quick. Let's go do a happy middle ground. 200 billion trillion stars. That's a 2 with 23 zeros after it. Using our star as a reference point, because there are larger and smaller stars, we can kind of figure this out and get an idea of what I'm trying to explain. So the escape velocity of our sun is 1.381 or 1,381,000 miles an hour roughly. All right, so you take that number and you multiply it by 2 and then add 23 zeros to it, you'll get a number of 276 octillion miles an hour needed to escape a singularity with all the estimated stars in the universe. That's roughly 445 octillion kilometers an hour. Okay, so did I mention that the maximum velocity of the universe is the speed of light in a vacuum, which is roughly 1.08 billion kilometers an hour, or 670 million miles an hour? So, if you took the necessary speed needed to escape the estimated gravity well of the singularity and divide it by the speed of light, you would need a velocity 412 quintillion times faster than the universe would allow. That is why I believe that it is impossible for the universe to escape from a singularity. I heard an argument said that it was space that expanded. Even like you put dots on a balloon and then blow it up. But so space is the absence of anything. It's an absolute vacuum. So we've observed that gravity can warp, space and time itself. We've never observed it the other way around.
You got two
5 minutes,
You're at 8 minutes. You're
8 minutes.
you're at 8 minutes right now, so you've got
Okay. So, well,
two.
all right, then I'll keep going. So,
Okay.
Newton's third law of motion simply states that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So, if object A forces a actual force upon object B, then it will exert an opposite yet equal force on object A. So, the entire universe is in motion from the smallest molecule to the largest galaxy. So, you follow it all the way back. You'll notice that something had to initiate the universe into motion. It cannot act upon itself. I skip forward here. I believe that's also why the universe cannot be infinite, because something had to put it into motion. So the first law of thermodynamics states that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. If that law is true, which it is, how did it get here? How did the universe form that law? How did matter and energy enter the universe and then decide nothing can be added or taken away from it? Because that law is in contradiction with the universe, I believe it shows that something had to have put the universe into order. Speaking of order, let's look at the second law of thermodynamics. It states all spontaneous processes in the universe tend towards increasing entropy, which is the measure of disorder or randomness. This means that the systems move from a natural state of order into a state of greater disorder. So let me ask you a question. What put the universe into order in the first place? Everything is bound by the second law of thermodynamics. The law doesn't change over time. What placed in a state of order in the first place? How did everything avoid the state of decay? If everything tends towards disorder, it would have moved into disorder as soon as the Big Bang happened and never would have become organized in the first place. Um,
You got 10 seconds.
yeah, that's basically it. What put the universe into a state of order in the first place? I believe, in the beginning, God put the universe into motion and into order and
All right.
put energy into existence. Thank you.
Great job. You got 10 minutes, Mark.
Hope that wasn't too fast.
No, that was very good. Thank you for that, Rich.
You're welcome.
Mr. Mark,
Oh.
you have the same 5 to 10 minutes. Robin will keep track of your time, and as soon as you begin, we will start.
I will let you know when you
Uh,
get to the 8-minute mark.
I'll just share my screen if that's okay.
Absolutely.
And I'll just get my thing up. Just bear with me for 1 second. Is that coming through okay?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Slide
Thank
in
you.
my PowerPoint.
I'm sorry.
I say I use the same slide in my PowerPoint. I like it.
Okay.
Cool.
Time for you, Mark. Go.
Yes, hello, welcome everybody. My name's Mark Reed. I want to say thank you to the moderators, Stephen and Robin, for moderating this, and to my opponent, Rich, for agreeing to this debate. And thanks to you for tuning in. It should be interesting, and I hope we have a really good discussion today. Today I'm taking a negative position on is cosmology evidence for a creator, and today I'll be arguing for a universe that is certainly possible without any kind of creator, and like most things, we can just use science and natural laws to explain the formation of the universe. I don't claim to have all the answers, and I'm not a physicist, far from it, but I'll be showing today the arguments for a God creating the universe are completely insufficient. First off, I do want to start with the scientific model of the universe. This is the Lambda CDM. This is the model that has made very successful predictions and explained a great deal, although it's not complete and does not explain everything. It traces back to the formation of space-time from a quantum vacuum. However, there is a problem with the model not being able to reconcile with quantum gravity, so not a lot is known before this time. Something I want you to consider is that if space-time formed in the early stages of the universe, there can be no before space-time because there's no time. The concept becomes meaningless before time. I do want to just quickly get into some of the evidence for this model, some really good evidence. We have redshift. The galaxies are moving away from us in accordance with Hubble's law. The farther they are, the faster they are moving away. The redshift of light is what tells us this. I can go more into this if necessary. Also, the prediction of light elements is exactly what we observed. So the model did make a novel testable prediction that supported it. Also, leftover radiation from the Big Bang was postulated, and they discovered exactly how the model predicted supporting this theory. None of this is disputed in cosmology and is very widely accepted among scientists, almost exclusively among scientists it's accepted. So I really want to clear up some of the misconceptions or perhaps straw men of the Big Bang model. It wasn't an explosion, it was an incredibly fast expansion. The difference is an explosion has the destruction of material, causing energy to be thrown out from the center of the explosion or from the explosion point. The inflation period is all points in the hot, dense bubble of energy, all expanding at once with no central point. Everywhere in the universe was expanding at the same time. Another misconception is that the universe came from literally nothing. Now, nothing at the origin of the universe that physicists talk about is a field with no energy, no space-time, no matter. However, there was a quantum vacuum where virtual particles popped in and out of existence, making it something, not a literal no thing that you would sort of say in philosophy. Another mistake is thinking of the Big Bang as the beginning of the universe. It is not. It is just the beginning of the inflationary period. And the authors of the Abord-Guth-Vilenkin theorem, both Guth and Vilenkin both said that it is not their theorem is not the beginning of the universe. So there is a lot of scientific, no scientist is saying that is the actual beginning of the entire universe. Now, I want to get into a problem that I often run into. This is God of the gaps. So it basically is just a way of sort of saying, if you don't know something, I'm going to put my explanation in instead, right? So if I know that, it sort of sounds weird, but think about it like if you're a detective or you have two detectives and there's a murder and one detective says, well, we have no evidence, we have no idea who did it. And the other one says, well, if you don't know, then the butler did it. We needed our own evidence to point to the butler. Just not having an explanation does not give you any evidence to insert a God. It doesn't. So it's a logical fallacy commonly known as God of the gaps, but it's also called the appeal to ignorance or the argument from ignorance. So this is sort of addressing the fine-tuning argument. It is not known whether the universe is actually fine-tuned or not. When people say if the constants were changed, then the universe wouldn't form or life wouldn't be present, but we don't know how universes form. It may be that the formation of the universe is natural, and this is the only way it could have formed. The incorrect assumption is that all of the cosmological constants like gravity, strong nuclear and weak nuclear forces had an equal chance to be any number at all. However, we don't know that. It is like that if you say, well, what are the chances that every carbon atom would form with 6 protons? Well, it has to be formed with 6 protons or it wouldn't be carbon. Now, I'm not saying that gravity and all these forces had to be the way they are. I'm just saying that perhaps that is the case. I do not know. The cosmological constants, they may actually be very different. And we could still not only have a universe, but a life-permitting one. I do note that a 2006 paper showed that a life-permitting universe could form without the weak nuclear force at all if you could change the other constants to compensate. This shows that conditions for an intelligent, life-permitting universe may be a lot more broad than we first thought. In fact, some physicists have postulated that the constants could be better or finer tuned, resulting in a more stable, more even universe that's not expanding at a ridiculous rate. And to be honest with you, that would probably be more indicative of a design. So this is a bit of a tautology, the weak anthropic principle. It basically just means that we sort of have a tendency to see things as designed for us or fit to us because we are there. Basically, we observe a universe. Due to being here, we have to observe the universe with these conditions. But if the universe didn't have those conditions, we wouldn't be around to comment on it. Think about it as, say, a caterpillar on one leaf of a massive tree. And the caterpillar goes, oh, this leaf has been perfectly designed for me and me in particular. Well, that's not the case. It's that if the caterpillar couldn't eat the leaf, he wouldn't be there. So it's kind of just a reverse thinking. I do apologize. Can we stop the timer for 1 second?
Robin, can you pause the timer?
Pause the timer for 1 second.
I paused it, yes.
Has just absolutely crapped it. Oh, why are you doing this? Hello, can someone in chat tell me if they hear me? I have gone
We hear you.
absolutely crazy. No. In my chat.
Oh.
Let me go over there. Let me go over there.
Hello. I do apologize. This is a really bad streaming day, apparently.
It's all right, Mark. We'll work with it. Take your
hello,
time.
can anybody
Your
hear
time is
me?
paused.
Do whatever you need to do, brother. Whatever.
Oh, thank you.
Okay,
I hear
so
you, but no video. Okay.
I've got it muted.
All right. My footage keeps going in and out. Are you turning on and off the screen share?
No.
What? OBS, what are you doing to me?
I can hear
Okay,
you.
I might press on and try to fix it. Why is it going in and out?
Maya says she hears you.
Yeah, but can you see the picture? Can you see the picture?
Um,
No, no, no. I'm not talking to you guys. Can you see the picture? We see the graphic now. Okay, well, let me know. I'm going to keep chat up, and I will start. So start the timer again.
okay.
Robin, is there any way to give him like an additional 30 seconds also?
Oh
Oh,
no, it's
yeah.
fine. It should be
I
fine.
mean, like I can give him
Give
whatever.
him an extra 30 seconds
He's got
for
3
the bug.
minutes and 32 seconds left right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Proceed, Mark. She'll start when you're ready.
All right.
Okay. So multiverse theory. Currently, there's some hypotheses about multiverses. There's no consensus on whether any of them are correct, if any. This includes quilted worlds, inflationary bubble, quantum, many worlds. Sean Carroll did a really good thing about that. Cyclic and membranes. Mathematical models support these hypotheticals, but we lack the ability to test them. So any of these could be true, but we don't know. So I do. Rich does have the positive position, which is the harder position, but I do want to sort of push back on some arguments against a god. Basically, a what we'd expect from a creator that did a design for the universe. I would imagine that a design for engineering would be similar. It would be a stable, contained universe, probably a closed system, an efficiently designed universe, and an ordered universe. Now, the expanding universe, it is not closed. It's actually, as far as we know, it's a open universe. Um, Sorry, just one sec. So why would a creator make a universe that's just expanding in all directions at all points at once? I do not know, but it's an interesting question of why, if everything is just for humanity, why he would do that, or she do that, or it do that.
You're at the 8
Um,
minute mark.
Sorry.
You're at the 8 minute mark. You got 2 more minutes.
Okay. The observable universe is 93 billion light years in diameter. The total universe is possibly much larger. All of this sort of points to a mostly empty universe. It's 99.99, sort of almost 100% empty. And the question is why? If you were playing an efficient universe, why would you leave so much space? The chaotic universe, approximately 5 to 25% of galaxies are just chaotically merging into one another or colliding. They're destructive events on an incredible scale. The Milky Way and Andromeda are on a collision course, and they're supposed to collide in roughly 4.5 billion years. If the universe has a creator, I wonder why he would bother to do this. There doesn't seem to be any reason for it. And I'd like to hear what the reason could possibly be for all of this chaos. And it certainly doesn't seem like an ordered creation. And just at the last thing, it's completely unnecessary to have a god. In 1802, Laplace presented a mathematical thing to Napoleon, who said, "Where is the god?" And he said, "You've got no need of it." The same is true of a god in the universe. Stephen Hawking's The Grand Design, due to gravity with quantum interactions, a creator is unnecessary for the formation of the universe. It can just occur on its own. And I will end there. Thank you so much. And I will concede any time remaining.
Thank you for that, Mr. Reed. And
Hold on. Look, Mark, your channel is saying that they're lagging, like it's lagging behind.
Yeah. I think it's the PowerPoint that's doing. I don't know why. Look, it should be fine. I'm
Okay.
getting it all.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it.
okay, now we're going to get into our rebuttals. Rich, you are going to have 3 to 5 minutes to rebut everything Mark said in his opening statement. And then immediately following that, he is going to have 3 to 5 minutes to rebut everything in your opening statement. So as soon as you're ready, let Miss Robin know. She'll
Hey,
set the timer, and we'll let you know when you hit the 3 minute mark to let you know you have 2 more minutes.
okay. Um, yeah, I guess I'm ready to go. I didn't catch everything you said because I was writing and didn't hear some parts, but um, one thing that I want to kind of talk about is like the God of the gaps theory. I mean, you can throw in self existence into that same gap just because that sort of thing is going on. It needs an explanation. And instead of finding, an external explanation for it, you just said, okay, this is more evidence that supports, you know, um, just self existence in general. Then you talked a little bit about the multiverse, but I think that has the same issue because I know we don't know whether or not it's actually real, but where did that come from? Where did the multiverse came from? If like the string theory opened and this universe came out of it, um, where did it originate from? You keep going back and back to find another explanation of how it could have happened all by itself. Um, I definitely want to think about why would God create an expanding universe more. It does say several times in the Bible that God does stretch out the heavens, and that stuff was written even before we discovered, that the universe was itself expanding. So when you're talking about quantum gravity, if you're talking about quantum fluctuations, I don't believe those are evidence of a self-existing universe because they're happening in a universe that already exists. They're happening within a universe that is already here in the presence. If they were happening, if it was evidence, then first off, the energy that pops into existence would stay. But we look at it as it's coming into existence and then it's disappearing again. That phenomena doesn't show that the universe can um, create itself because it's again already happening in a already existing universe. Um, where did the light and the radiation come from that we noticed that is theories for the Big Bang? That energy had to have come from somewhere that caused the universe to expand. Where did the energy come or the mass come from that was there in the first place? Um, And you mentioned something about like the 95% about of empty space. I mean, a lot of astrophysicists they don't know exactly what that is, but they do bring in the what is it the dark matter and dark energy theory. I guess that comes from so we see the universe expanding away from itself, but if you throw gravity into the equation, it should be all attracting back to each other. So they throw in the dark matter and dark energy as an explanation of how it could possibly still be expanding. Um, yeah, I concede my time. That's basically all I got for the rebuttal.
Okay, that was just 3 minutes. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you for that, Rich. Mark, we're going to hand it over to you, sir. You're going to have 3 to 5 minutes to rebut Rich's opening statement. And Robin will let you know when you hit the 3 minute mark to kind of let you know to wrap it up in 2 minutes following that. And then we'll get into our cross examination. So whenever you begin, she'll start your time.
Yeah, okay. So I'll start at sort of having necessary for existence, and usually that word has certain meanings in philosophical circles, and I'm not sure if you sort of mean it that way or if you mean it somewhere else, because no argument that you presented sort of said that God is necessary for the formation of the world. It just that's what you're claiming is that it's necessary, but I don't see you actually making an argument of why it's necessary. The universe created itself is a very bad way to describe it. Like when we say created, we're usually not talking about things popping in from nowhere. We've never seen that. Really, what we're talking about is a change of state. That in a quantum state, virtual particles can pop into the universe. And it's very strange to me that you're sort of using the Bible because there are some glaring problems with the Bible about its creation order. Like for instance, day and night existing before the sun and the earth, and that to me is just really really bad because that cannot be. Um, there's also some problems with the order that it gives in the formation of things, like the Earth was created before the sun, and there's our understanding of the way planets form from accretion disks around large stellar bodies that does not happen. The sun is definitely going to be there before the Earth, so I don't know why that would be considered a reliable guide to cosmogony. So when you said that the Earth was infinitely dense and small, it's not infinitely small. It's just infinitely hot and dense. And now, when they're talking about infinite like this, they're not talking about like actual unending. They're talking about it's unable to be measured because it is too large a number. So when they're sort of talking about infinite, how do you know if you can't measure a number? It's too large to measure. How do you know that it doesn't go on forever? Well, you don't. It's like pi, and that may have an end sometime, but we don't know. It may not. It may be an infinite series of numbers coming out of pi, but we don't know because infinite, scientifically, it means unable to be measured, and so that's what they're talking about. And that's more to do with the problem of quantum gravity not matching up with general relativity, so we can't look that far backwards to see the origin point of the universe if it does at all exist. The sort of attracting force like magnetism, that's a really bad way to explain gravity. Gravity is not a force. Gravity is curvature in space-time. So it's not a force like it pushes against something and something pushes back. It is not a force. What it is the distortion of space-time, so things kind of roll towards matter and they attract one another, but I'll make this, it is not a force. It is simply curvature. It is simply mass rolling down, if you will, the curvature.
You got 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. The whole thing about space being like nothing at all whatsoever. Space is a near vacuum. It's not a total vacuum, and there is still a quantum field in the background of space. So there's something there. There's also energy particles going through space. So it's not just empty space. That is not a thing. Even a vacuum has some energy and some stuff in it. But when we're talking about a quantum vacuum, we're really talking about no energy or no matter. That is without anything in it. But even that still has these virtual particles, quantum particles, sort of occupying that tiny confined space. And it isn't just gravity that it was around when the expansion of the universe happened or the inflation of the universe happened. That was also quantum events and subatomic particles interacting with each other. So just sort of saying because of gravity it couldn't happen isn't actually an argument because gravity wasn't just the only force around at that time. And I will leave it there.
Thank you very much for that, Mark. The next segment that we have is our cross-examination, and affirmative is going to be able to go first. So, Rich, you're going to have 5 minutes to question Mark. The rules of this round are short questions, direct answers, and no long speeches to eat up the clock from either of you. So, if you guys can respect that, I think we'll have a very fun back and forth. After your 5 minutes is up, Rich, and Robin will let you know when that is, we turn it over to Mark, and Mark has 5 minutes to ask you any question. Same rules apply. So whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Just questions. I can't respond to anything that he said it as the rebuttal, or
No, we have a second rebuttal period that's next, but
Okay.
this is just going to be 5 minutes of you asking him questions to get gotcha answers, and same with Mark to you. And it's your time to go. Robin will start the timer as soon as you're ready.
Okay. So inside a quantum vacuum, when you were still little bits of matter and energy you're describing, forgive me for not remembering the exact terminology. Where did that matter and that energy come from?
Interactions between subatomic particles and quantum particles. So fusing of sort of baryonic particles. The Large Hadron Collider found them. Basically, a whole bunch of other particles that are not energy; they are quantum particles. Neutrinos play a role in it. There's a whole lot of stuff going on in the background there.
Okay, let's keep going back. Where did those come from? I'm trying to find an origin point.
So the
First
quantum
law of
vacuum.
thermodynamics says matter and energy cannot be created or destroyed. The same is where did that come from?
Well, it came from the quantum vacuum.
Well, I mean, yeah, how? Like what evidence? So like the quantum vacuum, and all of a sudden, it was just there.
Yeah. No, we don't know.
Okay. Another question. Sorry, I didn't read the things for the debate. You know, I'm trying to think of a question. So can you explain a little more to me? Like, what is quantum gravity?
Quantum gravity is sort of the interactions that quantum particles play with one another when in a really, really small and tiny space. So it basically is forces that interplay with the other the other quantum particles that can create things. Someone explained it to me as sort of, and sorry, I just want to go through this example. Like if you get matter and antimatter and put it together, it it disintegrates. It basically annihilates and makes nothing, but there's still quantum particles there. So just imagine in reverse. The quantum particles make matter and antimatter, and then there's more matter than antimatter present.
Okay. How did all those quantum particles go into motion?
We don't know.
I mean, according to Newton's third law of motion, you know, it can't act upon itself. Something had to initiate it, right? Because an object at rest will remain at rest until a force acts upon it. What was that force that put it into motion?
Well, this is, I mean, what you're talking about is traditional physics, and that has problems on the quantum scale. Like, so we have quantum physics instead, because things like that don't seem to occupy it. For instance, there's superposition, for instance. A particle can be literally in two places at the same time. And that defies all of our physics, but that has been shown through this, you know, I think it's a Michelson-Morley slit experiment.
Yeah, quantum.
That
Yeah.
You got 2 minutes.
right.
Well, I'm just curious. Like, you know, something had to have put it into motion. It couldn't just happen by itself, even at the quantum level.
Sure, I can grant that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one necessary explanation, you know, to explain how, you know, things go into motion and things exist by themselves. I mean, you know, try not to ramble on here. Trying to think of another question. How did hydrogen, you know, form all of these other um, elements? If hydrogen was a start at the Big Bang, how did they form all the other elements?
Stellar nuclear synthesis that basically collapsed into stars. Those stars went supernova, and in the incredibly dense reactions in the center of stars, they created the heavier elements.
Okay. We should go into business together, brother. I mean, we could make a fortune turning hydrogen into gold and selling it on the market. I would love to do that.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's a question, but I don't have a sun or a star handy to do it.
Well, I mean, it's still theoretically possible, though, isn't it?
Sure, but I don't have a sun to do it. Do you? Sorry, it's not my question time.
No. Yeah, I'm out of questions. That was
All right. Thank you for that, Rich.
right.
Very interesting questions. Mark, you're going to have your 3 to 5 minutes now to ask Rich his questions or your questions for him. Just remember to try to keep your questions short. Rich, please make your answers direct and don't
Okay.
do any long speeches to try to eat up his clock.
Okay. I'll do
As
my
soon as
best.
you're ready, Mark, she'll start your time.
Sure. How old do you think the universe is?
According to the Bible, you know, 5 or 6 thousand years old.
Okay, how do you reconcile like light coming from distant stars at the speed of light that's, you know, millions of light years away from us?
That's a good question. I can't answer that one. You know, give me more time to prepare. I wish I had it. You know, for that. I mean, again, I know Bible says, you know, that God stretches out the heavens. How did the light get from here to there? Maybe. I don't know. That there's. I wish I. I don't want to take a. Go on to the next
That's
question.
okay. That's all right.
I'm
Yeah,
trying to
yeah,
get
sure, sure.
give me more time to think on that one, please.
Yeah. So do you sort of subscribe to the creation story in Genesis 1?
Yeah.
How do you sort of how do you reconcile that in there it says that night and day existed before the earth and the sun, when we know that night and day is the rotation of the earth under the effect of the sun?
Well, it says time, space, and matter were created in like the first, three verses. He created, matter first, and then it says he was the light at the beginning, and then I think in verse 4 it said he created the light after um, the earth was created. So, you know, God being light himself, and then creating the actual physical light, which is the stars, and then the moon, and then um, after the earth and matter was put into place.
Mhm. Okay. The when you said the first law of thermodynamics, that matter cannot be created. How do you explain how God created matter then?
Okay, so I'm trying to find a really good analogy.
Okay.
Like we can look at a painting or a computer or something like that. As an engineer and as an artist, you take the stuff and you put it, together. Um, I do believe, Stephen Hawking actually had an agreement. I think it was also in the grand design that he did mention. It's been a while since I read it, but he did mention, the universe kind of came into existence from another dimension type of thing. I say that to say that God stands outside of space, time, and matter. If he was limited to, not be able to create, matter and energy, he wouldn't be God. I think that contradiction, that matter and energy that are in existence and we cannot add or take away from it, shows that something is necessary for it
The
to
two
have
minutes.
in
Sorry.
place, or to put it into place.
Okay. How do you know, like when you say something caused the start of the universe, how do you know that something is a god, a creator?
Well, because there's only two options: either something created the universe, or some nothing created, or the universe created itself. And I believe the laws of physics, like I said in my opening statement, makes it necessary. How do I know it's a creator? Um, because there's a creation. There is existence here. It's like the computer itself. It didn't create itself. The guy who created it is beside it, and put it together. He's not jumping, running around in the screen, changing all the numbers on the screen. From the computer's point of view, the engineer has always existed. And the computer's point of view, it's there. It's like you look at a painting. There's a painter because there was a painting.
But why couldn't it be something that is not a god, not a creator, and just something external to the universe that's a natural event? Like, for instance, I think the cyclical model of multiverse, where the universes keep collapsing on themselves and then reigniting. Why couldn't it be that?
Well, I'm sorry. Say the very first part of your question again. I want to answer that before I go back to the
Well,
multiverse.
why can't it be a natural process that is not a
Oh, okay.
god,
Who,
but
who says
and just form under natural processes?
who says that God isn't a natural part process? He made us in His image. Also, going from the multiverse thing, you have this same issue there. Like, where did that multiverse come from? What initiated it? Where did that matter and energy from that multiverse that collapsed and expanded into this universe? Where did that initiate? What is that initial point?
Time's up.
Questions. This isn't your time for questions.
All right. Um, Let me ask you, gentlemen, a question. The next segment is technically our second round of rebuttals, 3 to 5 minutes. Following that is 10 to 20 minutes of open discussion. Do you gentlemen want to do the second round of rebuttals, or would you rather jump into the 10 to 20 minute open discussion?
I'm happy to jump into open discussion. I mean,
Yeah,
I'd really
that's
like to
fine.
talk to Rich. Just have a discussion kind of thing.
That,
Okay, well then we'll do it this way. Mark, I'll let you reiterate or ask what you didn't think was answered at the end there, and that will begin this conversation.
Right.
So, Robin, you can begin the time.
How much time?
It's 10 to 20 minutes. So, at the 10-minute mark, let us know we're at 10 minutes, and that'll kind of let us know we have another 10 to go.
Okay.
Yeah, so I really wanted to investigate because you sort of said, hey, the cyclical universe. And I get what you're saying. It's kicking the can down the road. It's sort of saying, hey, there was something before that. But there's no reason why it couldn't be something that's further up the ladder kind of thing. And this universe could have just formed naturally.
Well, again, I think something needed to put it into motion. It can't happen by itself. And who's to say that God isn't that natural existence? That put it in there itself. I mean, with the multi verse model, it doesn't have an origin point. It's explaining like we. It almost seems like we're just kind of stepping back and say, okay, the explanation that we're trying to make has to be natural. It has to happen by itself. We have to, you know, discount anything of something else putting it that way. Like that conscious presence behind your eyeballs. That just seems like too great of a thing just to happen and exist on its own. It's way too complex. Um,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt. Look, Rich, I don't know what you're talking about. What's behind my eyeballs?
I was just kind of going down another rabbit trail. That conscious presence that is your conscious self, your mind, your thoughts, the things that make you you.
Well, we're
Um,
sort of straying from the topic at the moment
yeah,
because we're
yeah,
talking
that was
cosmology
my
and
bad.
not.
I
Yeah.
apologize. I was trying to look
No,
for.
that's okay. That's okay. No, I just want to get us back on track, kind of thing. So, what I wonder is that, like, you've sort of said it's necessarily this God, but you sort of say, hey, it can't be those things because it is a God. I feel like that the assumption is being made that the universe is a creation, but I don't see evidence of that. I want to really know what makes you think it's a creation without sort of assuming that it is.
Do you mind if I go back? I need to go back into my PowerPoint here. I didn't share it, but
Okay.
I want to pull up some notes that I took down of the laws of physics that really show that it is necessary. Um, I've got like 400 slides here I got to go through. I'm going to try to be quick. I'm not trying to stall for time. I just want to be able to answer that. Laws of motion. I went over that several times. Um, so, second law of thermodynamics, right?
Hmm.
Everything moves from a state of order into a state of greater disorder. I don't see how any natural process, we're just matter itself coming into existence puts itself into a state of order all by itself, into eventually this very well organized um, cosmos that we have, for
Well,
example.
what's your description of disorder? Because usually we're talking about entropy, right? So entropy is sort of the spreading out of energy over a greater and greater area, which fits with the expanding universe that we see, right? So
Yeah,
that's
that is
entropy. But
that is
when you use energy, you can get that what you're saying order back, right?
what do you mean get that order back? You
Like
add
so,
energy
so
to any piece of matter, it becomes
everything
destructible
in
or
the
falls apart.
everything in the universe doesn't just go from order to disorder. Entropy is always a force, but you can basically make things ordered with energy. So in a low entropy state, like the inflation period of the universe, that's the start, right? And then entropy occurs from there. So you're sort of saying, how did it get to an high energy state? And it's like asking, well, where did the universe come from? And I'm saying that I don't know. But
Well,
what
that
I want to put across is, like, what reason do you think that a creator is involved with that instead of something else, or a low entropy state of the universe just starts?
Well, because it can't simply just spontaneously appear out of an absolute vacuum all by itself. Something had to initiate it.
Well, it's not
So
an absolute vacuum. It's not an absolute vacuum. As I said, it's a quantum vacuum, right?
I,
So there's virtual particles that are coming in and out of existence. And at that point, the furthest we can go back is where space-time starts, right?
I see that, that
Well,
that's
let
my
me
point. So that's
well,
why I said an
Rich,
absolute vacuum because
Rich. Just let me finish my thought.
okay,
So
okay.
before that, space-time is a nonsensical statement. Did you understand that?
Well, I see what you're trying to get at, but it's not
Yeah.
okay. So what I'm trying to explain is, uh, so the reason I said an absolute vacuum is because I've discovered when I have discussions with atheists, you have to define your terms because if you say nothing, they come around and say, "Oh, it's not absolutely nothing because something was there." But to define the terms of nothing being nothing, no quantum particles, no quantum gravity, no nothing, just absolutely an absolute vacuum of absolutely nothing going from that state into what we observe today, it can't spontaneously happen all by itself. The law of thermodynamics is matter and energy cannot be created or destroyed, but it is here. How did it get from no matter, no energy, no quantum gravity, no fluctuations, nothing to here what we are? That is why I believe an external source had to put it into existence.
Well, yeah, that's where you're going wrong because that's a straw man. Because I'm not saying there was, like, you're talking about the philosophical nothing, absolutely no thing whatsoever. And I am not aware of any state of affairs where that could be possible
You're at
because
7 minutes.
it's self-defeating because as soon as you start talking about absolute nothing, then it's a thing, it is something, right? So it's kind of self-defeating, but I'm not talking about what you're describing, and I feel like you're just trying to attribute to me that I'm saying it came from this absolute nothing, which I'm not claiming at all. I'm saying it came from what scientists describe as nothing, which is no energy, no matter, no space time, but there still is quantum interactions. That's
Mhm.
what I'm describing. So if you're going off to say, hey, you're saying it came from absolutely no thing whatsoever. Number one, I don't even know what that would be or how you would describe it. And number two, that's not what I'm saying. So, I don't know what you're arguing with.
Well, I mean, I could turn around and throw the same thing back to you. Like that's a clever straw man in its own. Like we're trying to define nothing as okay. There's actually some quantum thing there that is taking place, and then putting it into existence. The point is the universe is here. How did it
I
get here?
agree.
You know, the
I
universe
don't
is
know.
here. How did it get here? There are only two answers. Either the universe created itself or something created the universe. And that's like the biggest debate that's going on here. It can't happen by itself. That matter, that energy cannot spontaneously exist by itself. Can't like trying to say that look, nothing doesn't exist because it's actually something. I don't think that argument holds up because as soon as you get rid of that nothing point, then you're like, okay, how did it happen? We don't know.
So
Even
that's
even
that's a dichotomy that you keep repeating this dichotomy, and I want to show it to be a false dichotomy, Rich. Like it had to either. So a dichotomy is when you have two options, and like there's only two options. Like if I say, I am in Australia or I am not in Australia, right? Those are the only two logical options you can have. But you're saying it was either created by a creator, a agent, somebody that did it, or it did it itself. And those are not the only two options. It could have been another cause that is not a creator and is not itself. Like, for instance, the child parent universes of Sean Carroll talks about, or
Go
the
1 minute.
cyclic universe, where the end of one universe collapses in on itself and creates the next one, or forms the next one. Like, there's so many options of other things it could be. So that is a false dichotomy.
while you still have that third option, you still have the problem. Where did that come from? Where did that start?
It doesn't
Is that
matter.
creating, or
It doesn't matter. All I'm saying is that your dichotomy is not a true dichotomy, because you're saying those are the only two options to where this universe came from. And you've just said, hey, you're kicking the can down the road. Yeah, absolutely. But that is another option, right? That is a third option. So it cannot
it's
be
the
a
same
dichotomy.
fucking option of a self-creating universe that was always there. It's just another universe that transferred into this one. That's the same thing. Either
No.
it created itself or it didn't create.
No, because the cyclic universe, right? Like the cyclic universe, basically it expands, and then it reaches some point by a mechanism and then contracts and comes the big crunch, which we don't know, we don't think that'll happen, but it could. And that universe contracting into a small, hot, dense state could form the next universe. That is not a creator, and it's not it doing itself.
It's time, y'all.
Wait, that was 10 minutes, Robin?
That was 20 minutes.
That was 20 minutes? For real?
Yeah, like 2 tens.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
That was the fastest 20 minutes I've ever seen in my
maybe
life.
I thought I hit it. I thought I did it twice. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think that was 10 minutes, Robin. I think we
Okay.
have 10 more minutes.
All right.
So I'm sorry,
Well,
guys.
I'm happy to continue if Rich is happy to continue. I'm happy to continue.
Yeah.
I don't really mind. It's
Let's go
fine.
another 10 minutes. Mark,
That's
you
what
can
it was.
continue where we were.
Sorry.
No, I'll put it over to Rich. I kind of summed up my point. I was last to speak.
Well, I mean, it seems like we're just going back and forth and a dog chasing his tail here. But
Okay. Sure,
I know Neil deGrasse Tyson even says he doesn't know what happened, or they don't know. I believe his exact words are, "We don't know what happened before the Big Bang," were his words.
Yeah. I would agree with him. I also think that sort of before space-time is just a concept that doesn't make any sense. Like, it is possible that the universe, and so you would say eternal, but I would say the universe could be in an atemporal state. So if you imagine a state with no time, it is both instant and lasts forever, right? So it could have been in that state and it always existed. I don't know, but it is possible to be in an atemporal state before space-time actually formed.
But I mean, that's a good theory. I mean, I guess you would have to just kind of throw time, which we've never observed, right out the window to kind of you know
What?
make that theory conclusive. Like we've never observed this universe existing without time. Um, and basically, I don't believe that the universe can be infinite, if that's what you were getting at, because again, it is in motion, and again, motion itself, something has to initiate it and make it that way. I believe because of that, it shows that the universe can't be eternal or infinite. God is eternal, right? He's outside of the universe. He wouldn't be God if he's affected by space, time, or matter. It's like from the painting's point of view, he's always seen the painter. He thinks that the painting or the painter has existed forever from his point of view because he wasn't around before he was created. So I think God is eternal, yes, but the universe wasn't. It did have a point where it was.
Big Bad Mama asked a question, and I think it'd be fun.
Can we finish the discussion?
Yeah, go ahead.
Before we
Yeah,
go into
let's
questions,
bring
that
the
would be
question in later, please.
that would be really cool. So when you say, we've never seen time. Time isn't a thing by itself. It's space time, right?
Yes, sir.
Time and space are inextricably linked. So we've seen the effect of time dilation on things when certain masses are involved or certain speeds are involved. So time and space are inextricably linked, and we've observed that.
Yes.
The closer you move to the speed of light, the slower relatively time goes for you. So photons, for instance, which travel at the speed of light, do not experience time.
Yes.
So there is a sort of timeless, thing to them, atemporal state to photons. So we have we haven't seen it directly, but we know that their atemporal states do exist. We do know that. But, just sort of saying, well, we've never seen this state, it doesn't mean that God is necessary for it. Like, that couldn't have happened. And in that case, the universe was never caused by anything. It just has always existed. And if you have to sort of say, well, God's always existed, why can't the universe have always existed?
Um, yeah. First off, I do apologize. I was wrong there. When you do approach the speed of light, it does seem like time slows down and isn't affected. So I no, I do agree that God has always existed. I do say that, but again, with um, the laws of motion, I believe that alone shows that the universe, can't be infinite just because everything is moving from the smallest molecule up to the largest galaxy. I don't think it was ever in a point where it was completely stationary on its own. And if it was stationary on its own, something had to put it into motion because a force cannot act upon itself. It would always remain at rest, even at the quantum level. I believe.
Well,
Go ahead.
there's a problem there, Rich. There's a problem with that when you're talking about motion, because velocity. Have you ever calculated velocity before?
I understand how velocity works. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So it involves time.
Hmm.
So you're saying everything's always moving, but what about sort of when time wasn't part of the universe? Nothing could be moving. It's impossible.
Time's always been part of the universe.
No, it hasn't. Space-time is the thing, right? And space-time formed, right? Space and time haven't always been part of the universe. Space-time is a thing that formed in the early stages of the universe.
What put it there?
The collapse of particles into a waveform, I believe. I'm not sure exactly what put it there, but what I'm asking you is, how do you know that's a god?
How do you know it's not? I mean, go go back again. I quit having to. I'm sorry for asking the same simple question. What caused that collapse? Everything is here. Something put it into motion. Something put it into existence. Um, in my eyes, the only explanation is some intelligent designer that is not affected by space time and has the ability to put matter, energy, space, and gravity into existence had to do it.
But why?
Can
If
I
we can get
scientifically prove that? Not yet. I'm close,
Well,
I think.
if we can get photons which can interact and move without affected by time, why can't there be particles that can have actions while not under the influence of time?
Can you rephrase that, please?
Well, photons, they're not affected by time, right? They're basically atemporal. Why can't you have other particles and quantum particles that are not affected by time?
I've never heard that. Photons, not. Oh, no, I see what
Yeah,
you're saying. That's speed of light. Yeah.
as you approach the speed of light, yeah.
I don't know if I can answer that. I definitely want to ponder on it, but you're talking, again, they are moving at the fastest velocity the universe will allow. You know, what
Yeah.
what put them in that state of movement? What put them at that velocity? How did they accelerate to that point? I mean, did light initiate and all of a sudden it went? Well, what caused that initiation of light to get the photons to move at that
I
velocity?
don't know. Maybe it just happens naturally, like, decay of radiation, for instance, radioactive decay. It just happens, right? We see no cause for it. It just happens.
Yeah, to say it just happens is kind of saying, oh, well, where I would say God created it, you're just saying it just happens. I think that's.
Well, I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm saying that is a possibility. So when you're sort of talking about necessities, you're talking about in any possible world, this must be the case, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
any possibility undermines the necessity of a God. So if I say, hey, it's possible that, there's a child parent universe, Sean Carroll wrote a lot about them, that a larger cosmic area gives birth to these child universes, which they sort of say, hey, if you look inside a black hole, it's kind of like the conditions we would expect in the universe, an expanding area. So one's inside of a black hole, which is inside the other one, and all these things like he's postulating. If I can say, hey, that's a possibility, then that undermines the necessity of a God. And what that does is it sort of puts the ball back in
Got
your
2
court.
minutes
You've got
left.
to show evidence that it's a God, not just, hey, I don't think it's this thing, but you've got to show some evidence that it is in fact a God.
I'm working on it, and again, from that child universe, it still has a beginning. It still has a beginning. Keep following that back. What's the origin point? That's what I'm trying to get to. Is go back to the very origin point. What put it into existence? What formed
What
space
put
time?
God into existence?
Well, I'm sorry.
What put God into existence?
That's the thing. Again, like that this computer, from its point of view, the engineer has always existed. So from the computer's point of view, the engineer is eternal. From our state of three-dimensional space, time, and matter, God has always existed. God is eternal.
So why can't the greater universe around this one, why can't it have always existed?
It has, and his name is God.
Yeah, but that's an agent, right? It's something with will. But why can't it just be a natural universe that always existed?
It's time, y'all.
Because the laws of physics won't allow space, time, and matter to come into existence.
All right. Thank you guys for that. That was a great back and forth. We're going to go into our closing statements and then do a few of the questions that have come in. So for this segment, Mark, you're going to get the first closing statement, and you have 3
Thank
to
you.
5 minutes. And Robin will start your timer as soon as you're ready, sir.
Thank you, Robin. Thanks, Stephen. Just say when you're ready for me to go.
Go ahead.
Okay, so really from what I've seen, and thanks to Rich for being an opponent and handling really tough questions, because they are tough questions. They're where did everything come from? What's the origin of the universe? I'm not saying they're easy answers, but there's a problem here, and that is that you've got an issue with when we don't know what the answer is. It doesn't make a God any more likely. And it may be an answer that we haven't even conceived of. It may be something that we haven't found out yet. Like if you compare it to a lot of the discoveries made, like the guy I pulled up talking to Napoleon, and he sort of, where does God fit into this model of gravity? And he's like, it doesn't, it's not required. At the time, they thought that God would always be required in any model of anything, but his works just fine without it. So this is what God of the Gaps is. It's sort of saying, hey, if you don't know the reasons behind where this comes from or how this formed or what is beyond this sort of cutoff, it's got to be God, because I can't think of any better way. Even if I can't think of any better way, that doesn't necessarily make it a God. Like the example with the two detectives and one of them going, well, it's the butler if you can't think of anything better. No, you need your own evidence to support that. You can't just put a God in there when there's no evidence for it. And unfortunately, like I've really enjoyed talking to Rich, but I think that tonight it was just that, well, I don't think this could work, so it can't be that and has to be God, without the actual evidence of showing that it's a God. And I think that a lot of the time what's happening is you're assuming that this universe is a creation. You're assuming that it is all created. And so there must be a creator. But I don't see that. And I don't see any reason to believe that. Even if I don't know where the universe came from. I really think that just inserting a God is not the way to find the truth. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that, Mark Reed. Rich, you are now going to have 3 to 5 minutes for your closing statements, and then we will get into a couple of the questions that have come in.
Yeah, first off, thanks, Mark, for being a part of my first debate. I really enjoyed it, and it was a lot of fun. Thanks for challenging my mind. There's definitely a lot that I would love to think about and will continue to think about after this. And um, in a sense, what I was talking about, I guess, is God of the Gaps. You want to put it that way. I say that for now. How do you scientifically prove what the spirit is? You know, the book of John says that God is spirit. How do you scientifically prove that? That is a goal of mine. Um, I do see that the causation and the motion and the physics and the order of the universe does make it necessary. You can also say, oh, just because it is, it happened by itself. Oh, just because it is, God created it. There's always kind of going to be that ping pong battle going back and forth between that one. So I guess my closing statement is to disprove God, simply add or take away from the universe. You know, we can't do that. You know, and I think, you know, between the universe creating itself and God creating the universe, those being, you know, again, we dispute on this, you know, those being the only two logical explanations, I choose that God does exist, you know, and he's not just some sky daddy in the clouds, right? He's a loving, caring, compassionate being. And what he actually did for us, let me quantify this for you. I don't know if any of you guys have children, but would you take those children and nail them to a tree for somebody that you don't even know? That's what your God did for you, you know, and whether or not you believe that, granted, it is faith. Everybody is capable of faith. I mean, have you ever driven over a bridge, gotten your NASA tools out before you drive over it and inspect it? Just make sure it's perfectly safe. You don't know if those engineers made a mistake. Everybody's capable of faith. And that's where we're at. You have faith that the universe made itself spontaneously out of nothing, or did God create the universe? Again, to disprove God, I think all you need to do is simply add or take away from the universe. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. We only have a few questions, so this question
Just
is
before we
direct.
do, sorry,
Yeah.
Stephen, just before we do, I don't know where you got this picture of Jeff Bezos for me for the thumbnail. That is hilarious. I just want to say that. I figured it out today when I looked at it. It's Jeff Bezos, right?
No, it's actually I used a picture of you that Robin sent me and ran it through AI. So
Yeah,
AI
yeah.
thinks you look like one of the richest men in the world. Take it, man.
I wouldn't. I like, you know, looking like a rich man is not as good as being a rich man. That's two totally different things.
I have more money than God. God doesn't have any money or use it. I'm just throwing that out there.
Fair enough. So Rich, this question is for you, but I also want, Mark, after you answer it, to give, his word on it also. Rich, saying God did it is not an explanation because it has no objective evidence. How does it address questions of how and why and which God and how did God originate?
Leave that up there so I can read it and kind of go through it. Which God? There is enough archaeological evidence to show that the Bible stories are true. You know, like Sodom and Gomorrah, Mount Sinai, and Noah's Ark, for example, would lean towards that God. How and why, or how did God originate? You know, again, you know, He has always been. You know, from our point of view, He has always been because there was an origin point of our universe. And to exist before that, from our point of view, He has already existed.
All right, thank you. Mark, would you like to give an interpretation of
Yeah,
this?
and this is something that does concern me. I feel like that whenever you're sort of just saying a god did it with no evidence kind of thing, or very little evidence, scientific evidence especially, it sort of stops you from investigating any real reason behind it. It's like if somebody thought that Zeus was the one throwing lightning bolts, you know, they wouldn't look for what is actually happening in the particles and things like that. So it really does worry me that God is just given as a final explanation that, and what worries me is that we will never understand it. It doesn't have to be explained. It's just mysterious and, you know, unknowable, ineffable, if you will. And I just don't think we should be putting anything down to we can't possibly explain it. I feel like that is against the spirit of humanity, if you will, the quest for knowledge and the quest to understand things, because a god just you can't investigate it. It's just To me, it's a non-answer. I'm sorry.
Um, as for why, I guess why would anybody want to have children or offspring? Is love in there? I mean, why would he do it? To interact, to have something to do? No, that's a
I,
big topic of philosophy in its own. Good question, though.
sure, sure. Are you telling me? Or are you asking me? Like,
No, it's
I mean,
just
I don't.
throwing that statement to kind of
Okay.
for why would he do it? So
Uh,
Uh-huh.
Stephen, I have some questions over on Mark's channel too, if you want
Yeah, do you want to go ahead and ask a couple of those?
Oh, that would be great, Robin.
to. Okay, Skeptic Philosophy asked, if God can make anything, why did he not make his church already in heaven in its finished final spiritual state like last Thursday?
can you put that up on the screen so I can read it? Is that possible?
No.
Oh, that's on this channel. Okay.
You
Yeah.
can probably drop it in chat. Hang on a sec, I got it. I could just drop it in the private chat, maybe.
Mark's probably better at that than I am.
Hang on. How does this private chat work? I'm unfamiliar with this particular one. I'll throw it in your comments, maybe. No, I can't do that. Pop out comments. Can I do it there? No, I can't do it there. Okay, I don't know how to get this into the comments. This
Oh,
is
it's
weird.
all right if she could.
All right, hold on right here.
You're not a mod, so yeah, you can't post
I
links.
got a terrible attention span, so like halfway through that question, my mind just kind of went out. It's late in the evening. Forgive me for asking you to repeat that, Robin, if you don't mind.
That's all right. And I'm gonna have an after show on my channel, and if you want to come, Rich, if you want to show up, come. That's fine.
I might. I
I know.
gotta
I know it's late for you.
my dogs and stuff too. But
Yeah. Have you got it, Stephen?
I'm waiting. Has it been posted?
Yeah. Post it in your chat. Your chat on your channel.
Oh, okay, my bad. I was waiting for
Yeah.
it
Just
the old-fashioned way.
it's probably easy to pin from there as well.
Yes, it is. All right, so here we go.
God can make anything. Why did He not make His church already in heaven in its finished final spiritual state? I hate to go through all that stuff just to say I don't know, but He made it this way. Why He didn't make it that way? I mean, the world we see today wasn't His original design. He didn't have sin, hate, and all that sort of thing, and disease and poverty. None of that was part of His original design. But He gave us dominion of the earth, and we made it that way. We have, like, say, pick one major corporation in the world. Let's say Walmart, for example. I don't really like the store, but don't want to advertise for them. But if they tithe, gave 10% of what they have, poverty would disappear on the planet. We have the ability to make it happen, but we choose not to do it. I don't know if that answers your question directly, but um,
You
Thank
want
you.
to post another one, Mark?
Yep.
The other Titan, I think Titan had one, maybe.
Yeah. I just got it.
Okay. All right.
while we are the church, the people, the body of Christ is the church, not a building, by the way. He's powerful enough to create a universe. Can't He save our soul and forgive our sins without actualizing a human to being His own Son and dying on the cross? I suppose He could, but forgiveness of sin requires sacrifice, and I guess that would make us robots if He could just say, "Oh, you can get away with anything you want." I mean, how would that work in a court of law? To just let all that disorder get around. Um, he can't have sin in His presence, and because we fell at the beginning, He has to separate it from Him because He's perfect and holy and can't be around it. The dying on the cross, I guess, also really gives Him all the glory. I mean, He didn't just nail on the cross. I mean, He was brutally beaten to the point where nobody could recognize that He was human. Then they nailed Him to the cross. The only time He cried out was when He asked God why He forsaken Him. And He put the sin and the ultimate price of us upon Himself. there's nothing we can do to be righteous in his eyes. Like my friend Dr. Hovind says, there are only two religions in the world, Cain and Abel. We know the story that Cain killed Abel. Um, Abel brought the ultimate sacrifice. Cain brought the fruits and vegetables and stuff and said, "Look, God, look what I did for you," and he didn't accept it. And because God accepted Abel's, Cain became jealous and killed him. That's basically what the two religions in the world are.
Thank you. Are you wanting to comment on this, Mark? Or you want me to go to the next
Yeah,
question?
I think sort of an omnipotent God, it sort of defies omnipotence if you can't just forgive people for their transgressions against you. It's very strange. And what's even stranger to me is the idea that you can have like perfect justice and perfect mercy together. Like so, and I kind of, it always makes me feel uncomfortable that somebody else suffers for what I've done. I'm not sure what I did, but having someone else suffer on my behalf, I don't see that as justice. I see that as a miscarriage of justice, but putting it on somebody that doesn't deserve it. I wouldn't feel great if I committed a crime and somebody else was sentenced for that crime. It would be horrible.
Well, like I guess that's kind of the point. Let's just pick some random thing in a regular court of law. Like say, I don't know, I don't want to say killed somebody, but you stole somebody from something, or you went through a school zone at 75 miles an hour when the signs were clearly posted that it was a blind children's convention and you're doing 15. All these witnesses said you are guilty, and just before the judge swung his gavel down and was sentencing, somebody you didn't even know stepped forward and paid the fine for you and decided to take your sentence upon himself. I guess that shows that he made a law and we broke the law, but he's willing to forgive us. And all we need to do is say, look, I believe that you did that. That's all it is. That's just love in general, I guess.
Sure, but it wouldn't be just.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if he's willing to just, cast that aside, I mean, it is just because the punishment was taken out, that the sentence was carried out. And he put it on himself. He wouldn't get the glory if we had to take the
Okay.
punishment, I
Well,
guess.
let's extrapolate on that, Rich, because I think that's a perfect example, right? Like, that's a perfect example because you've got, like, so your example, you go through a speeding thing and you get a speeding fine and someone comes in and pay it, but that doesn't come without expecting something, does it? If that person says, hey, you've got to believe in me and you've got to worship me, or else I'm going to throw you in some sort of prison or deny you entry to this other place, then that comes with a rider. And I wouldn't feel comfortable with that guy paying my speeding ticket and then saying, well, I want you to do these things or else you're in trouble.
Well, not exactly. Basically, what it shows is like, look, there is a law, and because we sin, we've broken the law. You know, um, and just to say, oh, look, we'll let you get away with it. Where's the justice in just letting somebody break the law and with no consequence?
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that, hey, I'll pay my, if someone's expecting me to worship them because they've paid my speeding ticket, I'd rather pay my own speeding ticket in that case.
Well, that's the point, I guess, is the fine for sin. That the well, what's the verse, Stephen? I know it's probably in the back of your head. The consequence of sin is death, or something like that. I forget that the exact verse, but that that is the consequence of sin. It is death, and so if you want to pay your own fine, you have that choice. But he's offering you a way to not have to face that judgment and that punishment. That's basically what it comes down to.
Only if it
The
exists.
wages of sin is death.
Do you guys, I have a question on the screen. It's the last one Mark posted. Do you want to make this the last question you both kind of tackle, and then we'll close it up?
It's up to you guys. Do you have any on our channel at all, or
I have one more on our channel, but I want to go ahead and tackle this one that Mark had.
you got to work, don't you?
Yeah, I have to leave
Okay.
in 22 minutes.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
So the question is, well, how can action happen without time? How can God act and make without time?
Hmm. Yeah, those are really good questions. How can action happen without time? I don't. I think it can happen without time. I don't know how to. That's going to take me a lot more than a few seconds to be able to figure out that answer. Um,
I think it's very honest, Rich.
there's
Because
a very
Yeah,
honest question, a very good philosophical question, also.
I think it's a very
yeah. I
honest
think
answer.
that was from. I really should be trying to include the person that asked it so we can give him a tip of the hat. Who asked that one? I can't remember. I'm so sorry. I think it was Beta Ray. Was it Beta Ray?
I'm not on your channel. I'm
Yeah,
not.
yeah, that's okay. That's all right.
That,
It's a really good question. Whoever asked that's really good. Look, I'll just say, so we've been dancing around the problem of infinite regress, which is sort of like things can't continue into the past forever kind of thing. The
mhm.
problem is that the arguments for against a universe in infinite regress, which there's nothing in physics that prevents it. It is counterintuitive, but there's a lot of things in physics which is counterintuitive. We just don't know if there is infinite regress or not. But God is under the same thing. So at some point, God didn't create the universe and hadn't decided to create the universe. And then he did create the universe. So again, there's an infinite regress. So if God goes back infinitely, the same argument applies to him. You would have to have an infinite amount of time into the past that he hadn't decided to create the universe. So he never could have reached the point of creating a universe unless you're saying that God is exempted from logic. That's the only way you can get around it. Because the same argument saying that, hey, before the universe formed into what it is, it had to be in a state where it hadn't formed yet. If that goes back infinitely, it would never make that point. Same thing applies to God. If he is in a state where he's not creating the universe, infinitely, he'll never get to the state, ever, of creating the universe. Same thing applies.
I mean, just like we decided, to get up. I mean, we just get up this morning and do whatever we do. The same thing God chose and did decide. Could he have not decided? Yeah, he couldn't have not decided, and none of this and none of us would have existed. But we do exist. And I think there is physics does, I forget exactly how you put it, but again, physics does show that something had to initiate it to happen. You keep going back further and further and further, you'll see, okay, something had to put it into motion. Something had to put it into order. Something had to put it into existence. I think because it's in motion itself, it can't possibly be infinite. But you know, God, of course, could have chose not to make the universe, but he chose to do it. And I enjoy consciousness. I enjoy living. You know, um, yeah. I guess that's
All right. Well, thank you guys for that. It's been a really great debate. If you guys would like to do a follow up debate, just let me and Robin know, and we'd love to set something up. Maybe next time, Rich, you can go on to Mark Reed's channel and do the debate premiere over on that side.
okay. I'm up for that. But it
All
was a
right.
wonderful night. Thank you guys for hosting. Mark, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Really, really enjoyed the discussion.
Yeah, give me a lot to think about too. I really appreciate it. Very challenging discussion. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up some good points. I've heard a lot of them, but I've been probably doing this a lot longer than you have. So, yeah, really good for your first time, Rich. Yeah, really good debate. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, sir.